You're gonna love this guy. Okay, he is just, I've known this individual for a long time. John O'Connor. John has been in the business over 27 years. He has over 1,000 clients. John served in our Marine Corps and did a duty in Vietnam. John, thank you for your service. We greatly appreciate that. John's lovely wife, Kathy, doesn't like to travel a lot, but she's awesome and she keeps him in line along with the kids. John's a 10-time Gold Eagle. He's written over $90 million with American Equity. Give it up for my good friend, John O'Connor.
Good morning, American Equity. How you doing today? Yeah? I'm thinking you can do better. Anyway, anybody know what that is? That's an album cover from a rock and roll band called AC/DC. My heroes. I'm wearing their hat from the last concert I was at. I'm wearing their sweater from the last concert I was at. And you know what? These guys motivate me to do my business every day. And I believe that we are rock stars just like they are. Especially these guys in this room that are Gold Eagle, career guys. You know, here's the coolest thing. You can be a rock star and you don't even have to know how to play guitar. I own 5 guitars. I can't play any of them, but I love looking at them. But I can go and talk to the public every day. And you know, I do seminars all the time. I'm going to tell you about that in a little bit. But bottom line is that we need rock and roll in our life. When I'm going to a seminar, which is like 4 days a week, I've got rock and roll playing through me. And I'm going to play a little bit for you today. We're going to have a couple different segments to this thing. And I will tell you this, they ask that, you know, I leave time for you to ask me questions at the end. I told Brian Grinsteiner, you're not going to have any questions. This is a salute to you and to American Equity. And it starts out a little like this. Rock and roll. Are you feeling it yet? I know what you're thinking. He's nuts. You know, I am so excited to tell you that California has their own legal code for crazy people. Van Halen, another one of my favorites, had an album called 5150. They had a studio called 5150, and Sammy Hagar was at a concert entertaining me and about 100,000 other guys. And he said, 5150 is the code for crazy people. He didn't say it like that. But I'm thinking to myself, California would be the state that would actually invent that code. Now, I know in this room, there are people that qualify for that tag. I know there are. And I'm certainly one of them. In fact, yesterday I was just making a simple comment to my dear friend, and she said, you are insane. And I'm thinking, thank you for verifying that. So anyway, what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about a couple of things. And I know in this business, you run into lots of different obstacles. Don't turn on the podium yet. But one of the things that you do is you run into situations that are a little bit crazy. And I'm going to share a couple of things that happened to me over my career. And one of the things that I do when I'm meeting with a client, and I meet with a lot of them, one of the things I do is I ask them about themselves. I don't care about their money. I don't care about anything other than, hey, where'd you grow up? That makes them listen to me. Then I say, what do you do for a living? And then I look at the spouse, and I say, how did you two meet? And they tell me stuff, and all of a sudden I'm starting to really know these guys better than just what their portfolio looks like. And we're starting to develop a relationship. And you know, here's what happened. People open up to me. And I had a lady in my office. I didn't know what she did until I asked her. And she said, I'm a nurse and I'm about to retire. I'm like, that's so awesome. Thank you for your service. I happen to love nurses. My mom and dad spent the last months of their life in hospitals, and nurses were like angels for them. And so I love and respect nurses and the work that they do. And so I said, you know, people sometimes tell me I'm crazy. Do people ever say that to you? And she goes, oh yeah, once in a while. And sometimes I think I'm dealing with a lot of crazy people. I said, can you tell me a story? Tell me about your craziest experience. She said, okay, so you're probably going to be shocked when I tell it to you. I said, I'll listen. She said, I was a young nurse. I was only about a year into my nursing career, and I was on a graveyard shift at the hospital, and the floor I was working had only myself and one other nurse. There was about 30 patients there, and I was just going through the room around 2 o'clock in the morning, checking vital signs on these patients, and all of a sudden I heard from behind me, I just checked this gentleman's signs, and all of a sudden I'm walking away from him and I hear, are my testicles black? She's like, what? She says, are my testicles black? And she goes, I'm sure they're fine. So she keeps walking. She says, are my testicles black? And she's like, man, I better check because if I don't, I might get in trouble. So she starts digging in to find out if his testicles are black. And just as she's starting to lift up the sheets to get there, he grabs her arm, pulls off his oxygen mask, and says, are my test results back? 5150, buddy. So, anyway, glad you like that. Just because it's true. So, anyway, we run into that stuff in our life, and we just have to deal with it. And I deal with it with rock and roll, and I surround myself with awesome people. And I got to tell you, if I have to be somewhere where I'm surrounded by people, I couldn't think of anywhere better than right here with the people at American Equity. So, you ready to party now? Do me a favor. Let's rock this out. Stand up. Come on, get up. Let's salute American Equity. Come on, get up. You're going to be sitting all day. I want you to be ready to take the rest of the day on. You ready now? We're going to give you something that you deserve. We're the dealers, and we're going to give you everything you need. This is how AC/DC starts out there for those of us from rock, concert, finish, okay? So, what we're going to do, you can sit down now, but you ought to leave those chairs pushed back, because you might want to stand up a couple more times today, because this is about your company. So, here's the deal. I don't think you need to ask me questions because the people coming behind me are the real experts. They're the ones that know what's going on. I'm just kind of like the fool that gets to stand up here and warm you up. And I've been doing this so long, if you ask me how did I do this or how did I do that, I probably forgot anyway. So here's the deal. Just keep doing it. Now, you guys remember the Doobie Brothers? And the Doobie Brothers are one of my favorite bands. The first time I ever saw them was in 1972 in Seattle at the Seattle Center, which isn't even there anymore. But last summer, they came to my hometown and they played out in Tinley Park, and I went and saw them again, and they and Journey played together, and I gotta tell you, that was one of the most outstanding concerts I'd seen in a long time. In the last 12 months, I've been to about a dozen concerts, including AC/DC, Def Leppard, Motley Crue, Alice Cooper, Kiss, and Lita Ford, and a couple other ones I forgot. That's all true. Now, I think that's pretty cool, but the bottom line is, if it wasn't for American Equity and the awesome business that they helped me create, I wouldn't be able to do it. But I actually am in charge of my own deal, and I can do whatever I want. So, these guys are just so phenomenal, and one of the things that really struck me is they're just as perfect today as they were 30, 40 years ago. And you know why? They do it all the time. If you want to be really good in this business, don't do it a little bit. Don't just put your foot in there. Put your whole self in there, and you'll be a lot happier with the results. So a week later, you know, I saw this concert, I was just in love. And a week later, I said to actually it was a couple of days later, I said to my wife, I gotta go to Denver, because they're playing there. I'm gonna take a couple of my buddies, and we're gonna go out there and see them again, because I just gotta see it again. I don't know if I'm gonna still be alive when they play in Chicago next. She said, well, that sounds like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, go. So that's what I did. I'm out in Denver with a bunch of my buddies, and I had that concert was on Saturday night, and I figured, okay, I got an appointment Saturday morning, I'll do the appointments, I'll jump on a plane, go off to Denver, watch the concert, jump on a plane, go back to Chicago, go to church. That sounds crazy. I did it, and it was awesome. It was worth every bit of it. When I was in church, I was thanking God that I was able to do that. So you guys can do it too. So one of the songs that they play is "What a Fool Believes," and the words are like this: it says, "What a fool believes, no wise man can reason away. What a fool believes, no wise man can reason away." And believe me, I am the fool, and nobody can talk me out of what I think is going to work, and so I do it. That's why you're hearing this. So anyway, I do work, and I work a lot. On days that are weeks, out of my regular work weeks, I work about 6 days, usually 4 seminars. Saturday is all-day appointments. And every day I wake up and I'm thinking about Clint Eastwood. And this little saying he's got, it says, "Nobody owes you a damn thing. Get off your ass and earn it." I hope I haven't offended you when I said that, but that's the truth. So, you know, I have such a great respect for Mr. Noble. I really don't get to talk to him, haven't talked to him, other than at a couple of client appreciation events. He did come up to me and shake my hand, and I thought, wow, that's pretty big. So anyway, I think that he has the same kind of work ethic as what we're looking at right there. Could you imagine, and I know you're thinking right now, 5150, 64 years old, just retired, and now he's starting another business. Here we are 21 years later with one of the most awesome insurance companies on the planet Earth. That is definitely a really cool 5150. I love that guy. Let's give it up for Dave Noble. Brett, can you give me this mic? By the way, I want to recognize the team here, the AV people, the American Equity people, the ATI people. You got some of the most incredible people. And you guys are sitting here, you know, you got on a plane, you came out here, you had dinner last night. You're sitting here today, you're going to get a lot of good information, but you have no clue how much goes into this. These people are such awesome hard workers. I would love to have my team be as good as that team. And I got a good team, but I got to tell you something. These guys raised the bar. So I'm going to read a little bit of poetry to you, and no, this ain't Poetry Corner. But this is a poem that inspired me back in the 80s. It's from the book The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And this is just about work, and it's just a piece of it. I don't want to make you listen to this all morning. But listen to this. I bet you Dave Noble has this going on in his heart. And what is it to work with love? It is to weave the cloth that threads drawn from your heart, even as if your beloved were to wear that cloth. It is to build a house with affection, even as if your beloved were to dwell in that house. It is to sow seeds with tenderness and reap the harvest with joy, even as if your beloved were to eat the fruit. It is to charge all things you fashion with the breath of your own spirit, and to know that all the blessed dead are standing about and watching. Work is love made visible, and if you cannot work with love, but only with distaste, it is better that you should leave your work and sit at the gate of the temple and take alms of those who work with joy. You put me back on this one thing? Wow, you guys are magical. Anyway, that's so powerful. That inspires me every day. And it's the same way for you. You know, ladies and gentlemen, if you really love what you do, you can't get a better job. But if you don't love what you do, you should get a better job. It's that simple. And I love what I do, but man, I gotta tell you, 15 years ago, I was working my butt off, and I was having a hard time. And one of the things is that nobody can do this alone. You need some help. And so the first person that I got to help me came into my life by just a circumstance, but it changed my entire life 15 years ago. You recognize this song? This is American Girl from ACD, Tom Petty. And that's what she looks like. Her name is Dana, and Dana came into my life totally unrelated to my business in the insurance industry, but I was working out with her. She was actually like my personal trainer, and if you take a look at me, you know I should fire her for that. But bottom line is, she worked hard at it, I worked hard at it, and I've just gotten older and a little softer, but you know what, we had me tuned up pretty good. But I was working out with her, and I said, you know what, you're too smart, you're too good, you shouldn't be doing this, you should be doing what I'm doing. I'll pay you to come and work with me. And she said, really? And I go, yeah. And she goes, no, I'm not gonna do it. It took me 6 months, begging, pleading. I even had to take her out to lunch with her husband and convince him that this was a better deal. And we finally got her working with me, and you know what? It was the best move I ever made. And when we were working together, I actually was paying her out of my pocket to work for somebody else promoting his business, and he was doing great, and I was pushing this, but he had some evil entity in his little empire there. And some people don't like it when other people are happy. And one thing Dana and I were always good at was laughing, smiling, and getting the job done. So one day, I'm taking this guy to go do one of his seminars. I'm picking him up, and he pulls a Post-it note out of his pocket, and I'm driving him in my car from his house to this seminar, which is a ways away from my house. And he says, you know, I could replace you with a limo driver and an accountant. You really don't work that hard. You and Dana just constantly are goofing off. And I'm thinking, and you're writing record amounts of business thanks to me and Dana. Just saying. Well, a month later, we were going to that same place. And I said, you know what time it is? And he goes, what time? I said, it's time for you to replace me with a limo driver and an accountant. And folks, that was 2004. And listen to the words. Listen. That's important. So oftentimes it happens that we live our lives in chains and we don't know we have the key. You know what? If you don't like it, get out. While you still can. Save yourself. If you're in a bad situation, get out. That's a picture we took when they were delivering the office manager to the office at this joint. And that's how they picked her up, too. But when we got out, we didn't have any more of that nonsense. And it was really, I keep saying this, people say, how did you and Dana meet? And we go through all that, but I say, you know what it really was? It was like the Jerry Maguire story. You remember that? He's like, who's going with me? And finally, Renee Zellweger says, I'll go. Actually, Dana was leaving, and I said, I'll go with you. That's how it went. And she didn't have a baby. We didn't get married. We didn't fall in love. We didn't even have a doggone fish. But you know what? We had a great start to one of the most awesome careers anybody could ever hope for. And I thank God every day for her and for that career, and for this company, American Equity. So, sometimes you gotta work. This is our office. When we first broke out on our own, we had a little office in a high-rise office building, a nice-looking building. The office was kind of crap. Now I've got a really nice office. It's enough space in there to do 10 appointments an hour. We have a really nice location in the western suburbs, so I'm closer to my home. And our clients love coming there because we're surrounded with handicapped parking. And I've been doing this so long that most of my clients are either dying or they're in wheelchairs, so they love coming and seeing me. That's why I gotta go get new ones every day. So, anyway, you get the point. So, this is a picture that we took for my Christmas card in 2016. Every year, I send out a Christmas card to my clients of my staff. And our Christmas card used to be pretty plain because it was just me, and then it was me and Dana, and then a little by little we'd add on. But now we've got a pretty good staff. If you take a look at that picture, you'll realize that we have a dirty dozen sitting right there, and they work their guts out. And I'll tell you this, the bottom line on all that is, there are still days when they're trying to be pulled in another direction. They want to sell something else beside American Equity. And they got to really sell me on why a different company is better than American Equity. and the bonus gold. In fact, we've had some really heated sales meetings, and I believe that they hear me when I say, we're an American Equity shop, we'll sell American Equity. If you don't like American Equity, get the heck out of my shop. Period. So it's a short meeting. So anyway, very proud of these people. They work really hard because nobody can do it by themselves. And when Dana and I started doing work together, I did more. When we branched out on our own, I had to do everything. You know, you can't just goof around. You know, one of the things that we do when we're in business for ourselves and it's just us is we work out of our home office and we say we're going to go on an appointment, but then we wind up going somewhere else and we don't get the appointment done. Because how easy is it to drift? Really? You don't have to raise your hand. I know who you are. If you're drifting, stop. Pull it back together. Get yourself a partner. You know, I believe that in this world, to really survive, you need two things. You need PMA. What's it? Positive mental attitude, right? And you need PMS. What's that? No, it's not that. PMS means partner, motivator, strength. Whenever I'm feeling weak, I got that incredible girl pushing me and holding me up. Whenever I'm trying to goof around, she'll remind me how stupid I really am. And I thank her for that. I thank her from the bottom of my heart. And the strength, two is always more powerful than one. Two people working together, it's hard to beat them. And now I got 12 people working together, it's harder to beat. Listen to this. That's you, Ron. Ron Brensteiner surprised me one day, came out to my office. This was 2014, the San Francisco trip. He comes out to my office right before the San Francisco trip, and I didn't know he was coming. I thought it was going to be Tom Ross and Jason Kroenke. And it's Tom Ross, Jason Kroenke, and the other people I'm going to show you here. And Ron's there, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I got the man in my office. And Ron, I've been to the little workshop they do out in Des Moines, at the home office, and Ron will sit down and honestly say he never was a very good salesman. He didn't like it, he didn't have the patience for it. It wasn't his cup of tea, and I think he does a great job in the home office. And you know, when he first met me, it was in 2004, and I was selling another company that starts with an A, but it wasn't American Equity. And he taught me how the bonus gold works. And you know what? Ron says he's not that good of a salesman. Ron, Kirby just said I did $90 million with you guys. I'd say you're the best salesman. Give it up for Mr. Ron. So, also Mr. Kirby Wood was out there. Kirby, inspirational. And every time I got a beef, I don't tell Kirby, I tell somebody else. I told Tom Ross I had a concern about something. Tom says, I'll have Kirby call you. I said, I don't want to talk to Kirby. I said, I can talk to him at the American Equity. He said, no, we'll call you. It's like they actually care. There's other companies where I can complain about something, they don't even care. It's like they don't even answer the phone. Love these guys, okay? So, then we got a couple other people I want you to see. Tom and Jason, those two guys, great people. They work hard, they stay in touch. And those are the two guys that asked me to put this on you this morning. So if you don't like it, blame them. But it's such an honor to be here and do this. Then you got this lady, Juanita Kilcallen. You know what? She's the head of suitability. In other companies, suitability is the sales prevention department. At American Equity, suitability actually works their ass off to help you to get your deal done. Give it up for Juanita and suitability. Come on. This is what I think about American Equity. These guys work their ass off for you every day. Come on. American Equity guy, Wade Eldridge. Wade, another super guy. I have not met one of these regional guys that isn't fantastic. I mean, these guys are all unbelievable. Brad Swartz, another guy. Bill Ballard, Denny Southern. These guys are all rock stars, and they help you to be good rock stars. You know what the biggest problem we have is? Sometimes we forget to ask for help. And sometimes you talk to guys that are in the same business as you, and you're both really good at bitching about how bad it is. Don't do that. If you don't like the way things are going, do more. Don't complain. Don't come up with excuses. Come up with reasons. You got it. It's all in here. You know what? In Chicago, the most fashionable thing to have is a concealed carry license, because it's kind of dangerous there. But you all are carrying concealed right now the most powerful weapon you'll ever own. It's your brain. Use it. And when you get up in the morning, decide you're going to go to work, and decide you're going to do a good job, and you'll be at all these things. I've been to Disneyland a couple of times. I've been to Hawaii. I've been to, you know, all the other places. I've been there. You forgot. Except for San Francisco. Ron asked me, why don't you go to San Francisco? You qualified for chairman. I said, no, you know, I don't want to. And he goes, why not? I says, come in my office. He comes in my office that day that they visited me. I says, look at this wall. I got a wall that's completely covered with a calendar for the whole year. Big calendar. And I said, look at the month of August. He says, Jesus, John, that whole month is dark. What is that? They're all seminars. I had 16 seminars that month. I says, I can't go to San Francisco. I'll tell you what, I'll be doing seminars in August, 16 of them, and I'll have enough money. I go to San Francisco, then I go to Hawaii, and then I go to Taipei, and then I come back and see some rock concerts. And you guys have a good time. Okay, I get it. But I do appreciate the invitation. So Wade and his family, awesome. You know, when I was there, I don't know if you can see the picture of Wade's son in there, but he's got a beautiful little boy, and he's got like this look of awe, like this on his face. Ah! So that's when I told him I was going to do 100 seminars that year. He's like, what, are you crazy? So, anyway, Mrs. O'Connor. You know, every song has a meaning. When I met her for the first time, I fell in love right away, and I said, as soon as she gets out of high school, I'm marrying her. Wasn't quite like that, but the bottom line is she is 18 years younger than me. We do have two of our own children. One's 19, one's 13. They're both awesome. She's awesome. And because I am older than her, I believe that I have to have life insurance. And so I showed her my life insurance. I got a couple of $1 million worth of life insurance. I showed her where the stuff is. I said, if I die, call Dana. She knows how to do this stuff. I also showed her my commissions. I said, you know, not just a life insurance. If I die, this is coming from American Equity. This stock is coming from American Equity. I won't go into the numbers, but I'm going to tell you, she'll be okay. I won't have to worry about her. I won't have to worry about my kids. And so I told her, I said, honey, when I die, I want you to remarry. I don't want you to go through this alone. You should have a partner. I said, the only thing I want you to do, I have a couple of nice cars. I got a Corvette convertible that my son just loves, and he's only 13, so he can't drive it yet. I said, if I die, make sure you don't sell that car. Give it to Ryan, and if you get married, don't let the new guy drive it. She said, don't worry, he doesn't like Corvettes. So, marketing. I do it all kinds of ways, any way you want it. I've done it on the radio, I've done it in seminars, I've done it in restaurants, I've done it in newspaper ads, I've done it in different cities. I got a buddy here from Sacramento, California. I helped him get started in the business. He's a Gold Eagle member now for several years in a row. It's like I've been all over the country helping people do stuff, but once you help them, you got to make sure they keep doing it. This lady here, Susan Wacky, she was the host of Aging Info Radio on a radio station that was local. She used to invite me on that show. I probably did a dozen shows, and my buddy Ron Brensteiner actually did a whole show with me by phone. And that show was so popular, Ronnie, they played it 4 more times. It was a very nice show. So thanks for your help there, Ron. So then, That's my family. That's a kind of an older picture. I think it might be a year old because my son Ryan is now taller than anybody in that picture. He's leaner than anybody in that picture. And the bottom line is these are good people. I love them, and that's one of the main reasons why I go to work every day, because one of the things I do is I picture in my mind them starving. That immediately gets me in the car and I'm on my way to the job. My son and I and my wife and my daughter, we all work towards some charitable stuff too. I give to different charities, and that's just a privilege and a pleasure. But the Boy Scout food drive every year to me is like a family tradition now. And I got a big Ford Expedition, and I'm chasing Boy Scouts up and down the block. We fill it up dozens of times, and we fill up these big trucks and take it to food pantries. This past year, those kids collected over 50,000 pieces of food. That's a lot of food, guys. I mean, we're talking truckloads and truckloads. That's the Boy Scouts. They're cool. And the Girl Scouts were in on that too. The Girl Scouts help too. I love both of those things. It's a wonderful way for kids to grow up. It's a good way to get some values. This is the most important part of my presentation right here. And I'll tell you what you need to understand about this. That's a carbon monoxide detector. And I had a heating and air conditioning guy come to my house in December of last year because I was complaining that I thought we smelled gas. I thought that the carbon monoxide detectors were trying to go off. He says, oh, they're probably no good. He checked the furnace in the most stupid way I've ever seen. He said, you're all right. So my wife says, I don't trust that guy. He says, I'm with you, baby. So I went to Home Depot, bought this first alert deal for about 35 bucks. That night, at 2 o'clock in the morning, that thing's going off, screaming, get out, get out, get out. And so I got up, and we got out. I felt like I was drunk, and I got my son out of bed, my daughter out of bed, got the dogs, put them all outside in that big expedition from the food drive. It's about 20 degrees outside, so we were cold. I called the 911, called the gas company, the police department, the paramedics, the fire department, everybody was there. The fire department guys go in with gas masks on, and so I'm like still woozy from this carbon monoxide. He says, you can't come in here. He says, get the hell out of here. He told the cop, he says, handcuff him if he tries to come back in. And I'm like, what's wrong? He says, the carbon monoxide in here is so powerful. If you hadn't got out from that alarm, you'd have been dead right this minute. My whole family would have been gone, folks. But I'm here tonight because of that. Get one. Do not think it doesn't matter. It's a real important piece. So, you guys are all rock stars. I want you to just be rock stars, because you all are. And so, oxymoron. I'm not going to go deep into this. What does that stand for? Huh? Department of Labor? Does anybody there really labor? How about this? Anybody know what that is? You know what this is? They're all related. Just saying. So, be good to yourself. Don't take crap from anyone. Never give up. Are you feeling me? And this is all I got to tell you. ACDC engine like this. I salute you. I salute American equity. And one thing. Remember James Dean? I got his picture in my office. Never stop dreaming. This picture says, dream as if you'll live forever. Live as if you'll die today. Don't let it pass you by, folks. This is a big opportunity. Start here for the year. If you've been off to a slow start, let's kick it off right now. Last thing. I'm out.
Yeah, baby. Blew it up. Good
Sorry,
job.
Lisa, I went over a couple of minutes. Sorry. Here. Do I bring this back?
You live right there. Give it up for John O'Connor, huh? We can all be whatever we want to be, right? Great message, John. Great message. Okay, let's see. How about clickers here? How about that? Our next speaker, I got to know, we're all about relationships, and I had a guy who has been on a couple Chairman's Club, Greg Melia. Greg kept telling me, hey, I need to introduce you to this guy. I think he'd be a really good fit, but he's right in this other company right now. But so finally, Mark and I got on the phone. Mark said, wow, I go to this other company's trips, I'm their top producer, nobody talks to me. I said, well, we'll talk to you. I'd love to put my arm around you, man. So our next speaker, Mark Falter, really, he's been licensed with us since about 2001, but he really just started doing business in 2015. He's qualified for his first Chairman's Club. During that conversation, he said, I am going to qualify for Chairman's Club, be in your top 15. As a matter of fact, he beat Greg. That was another one of his goals that he accomplished. And he's written 28 million all time. He's got a great practice. Brian Moshka, Jason Kroenke, and I were just down to his office down in northern Kansas City area. His wonderful wife Amy and his son are in business with him. So give it up for Mark Falter.
That is so ironic, John. I love AC/DC. Matter of fact, I actually, he had all the paraphernalia on. I think he had AC/DC socks on, if I saw correctly. I actually have AC/DC underwear on today. Who wants to see them? All right. I appreciate American Equity asking me to talk today. They called me up and I thought, I almost felt obligated to. There's a scripture verse, Luke 12:48, says, to whom much is given, much will be required. And I thought about this for a long time, and I thought, you see us up here at the point in which we're writing a lot of business, but most of us, every one of us, has not been this way all the time. Matter of fact, if you go back 6 years, I can remember when I was at a study group, a group of guys that would get together. One of these study groups I went to, I was extremely nervous. I was thinking about getting out of the business. Was writing maybe $2 to $3 million a year in premium. But like many of you in here, every January, waking up thinking, where is the next lead coming from? Or more importantly, the next lead source. So that was just 6 years ago. But really, I don't want to stand up here and tell you how great I am or our practice is. I am really the sum total of all the coaching and all the good people that I've met, and I've been able to absorb some of it. I thank my wife. She's in here. She's the world's best scheduler. She keeps me, I do a lot of appointments, but with an appointment, you have to have a phone call. She does all that for me. Like to thank my coach that has actually, 6 years ago when I met him, has really helped me tremendously. But I have a gut feeling there may be one or two people in here that are just like I was 5 or 6 years ago. And hopefully I'm going to give something to you over the next few minutes that can help you get to the next level. There's 4 things I want to talk about today. First of all, my history. Secondly, what made the difference to get me to the next level. Talk a little bit about my marketing. And then what I call the 6 overriding themes of sales. Again, I repeat a lot of this to you, but a lot of this was taught to me. A lot of this was picked up from guys bigger than myself. A little bit about my history. I've been in the business 32 years. Up till about 6 years ago, I was doing $2 to $3 million a year, very frustrated, doing it all myself. The thing that I really thought about before I got up here, I was going from one single lead source to another. How many of you can relate to that? In other words, you got a lead source and it dries up or changes, and then you got to go to another lead source and you're kind of scratching around there for a while. Working out of the house, doing all of my own stuff, all my own paperwork, etc., and missing a lot of the kids' games. I saw the big producers, but I never really knew how to get there. Now our practice has changed a lot. I've got people doing phone calls. I've got people doing setting up our workshops for us, doing our paperwork. I had an appointment cancellation the other day. It was about actually 2 back-to-back, and I had about 2 hours free. And I thought, well, I've got to be doing something. It was an epiphany. And I thought, there's literally nothing I can do, because all I do is sell. They do everything else for me. And that's one thing, if you get anything else from this, you need to offload those non-$1,000 an hour jobs to someone else. You're good at one thing, and that is selling. So, I was in a position where I had a lot of limiting beliefs. A lot like some of you may have in here, limiting beliefs such as that I couldn't have people come by the office. If you'd have told me 5-6 years ago that all of my meetings would be at the office, that my last meeting would stop at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, that I could do $1 million role in the first meeting, I would have told you you're crazy. But again, as I said, I'm not so great up here. I am just literally the sum total of a lot of good coaching that is going into my life. So one of the things I want to tell you, and I got to thinking about this, a lot of us go through the business looking for that one silver bullet idea. And believe me when I tell you, there's going to be a lot of people out there that are willing to sell you that one silver bullet idea, that one thing that'll get you to the next level. I'm here to tell you there's going to be a common denominator you'll see between all the guys that get up here on stage. And that is, we work really, really hard. So there's not one thing, it's several things, but one common denominator I would say is a lot of hard work. So, one of the quotes that I wrote down here, I wanted to read to you as I was thinking about putting this together. In the last 6 or 7 years, there's been a lot of change in our practice, change in my life, change with the coaching. And I saw this in my wife's book on the way here in the airport, and I wrote it down. Growth means change, and change involves risk. Stepping from the known to the unknown. It's scary to change. I'm not going to lie to you. You got to go out there and spend some money. You don't know if that thing is going to work or not. So, enough about my history. Let's talk about what got me to the next level. If there's one takeaway that I would suggest you write down, and that is find a coach. I was fortunate enough 6 years ago to meet a gentleman that's coaching me. Actually, I've had as many as 3 coaches at one time. The difference between, coaching and non-coaching. I'll tell you a quick story. Been to Colorado twice, elk hunting. The first time was kind of a self-guided, go find the elk. Now, if you've ever hunted elk, they don't stay in a very small range. They travel, they're a roaming animal. Was out there looking, I literally lost 9 pounds in about 6 days because of all the trekking and looking and glassing for these elk. And just literally left frustrated. No elk. Went the next time with a guide, had an elk within an hour and a half. My brother went with me on the first elk trip, and I texted him and I said, simply put, guide equals elk. And it's the same thing in this business. There's a lot of people, a lot of FMOs that are out there right now that offer coaching, and get with somebody that knows how to do it. And one thing I will say with that is stay coachable. I'm going to come back to that in just a minute here. Right now, with the way we've changed our practice, I take Fridays off. Everybody comes into the office to see us. I don't go out for any appointments. And it's literally not so much that I don't want to. I don't have time. It's just a time thing. I typically will run on average of about 7 to 8 appointments a day. And what we try to focus on is the new ops in a week. Not just appointments for appointment's sake, but 12. We don't like to go much under 10 new opportunities a week. In other words, in that appointment, there's money there somewhere. Either they've come from a workshop or something like that, where we're running that many per week, and my scheduler keeps track of that. Back in 2003, when I was thinking about doing workshops and so forth, I went out to see a gentleman in San Diego, and I'll never forget something that he said. He said, a lot of you guys think that I'm so much better at youth and sales. I'm up here, you're down there. He said, that's not true. He says, one thing I get that you don't is more up to bats. And that's kind of a little saying we've got in our office. Next. In other words, if that doesn't work out, you've got one waiting in the lobby. So we run them through pretty fast and get a lot of good selling opportunities. Now, you got to do a lot of good marketing that gets you in front of the right people. But one thing I'll say also, write this down. Always do the most productive thing at every given moment. Matter of fact, you write that down and you keep that and you read that later, I guarantee you're going to hate my guts for that saying. But do the most productive thing in every given moment. And when you're in a selling environment, think about how much you make on that sale. You're making about $1,000 an hour. So anything that is not $1,000 an hour work, why are you doing it? Now I know why you're doing it when you gotta crawl before you can walk. I was there too. But as you farm some of that stuff out, and it's a little bit at a time, and don't go home and change everything, but if you're doing your own paperwork, think about getting a part-time person that can do that for you. Because I'm gonna tell you, when you loosen up that time, you can do more of the $1,000 an hour work stuff. Everybody in here knows how to sell. If you didn't know how to sell, you wouldn't be here, right? So everybody knows how to sell. The thing is, you're not spending enough time in many cases doing it. So that's one of the things that I really wanted to put as a takeaway today. Now, you're gonna find, if you hire a coach, if you go out there and take me up on that, you're gonna find a real interesting epiphany. Matter of fact, I was paying a coach as much as $2,000 a month to coach me, and I found, at the end of the day, all Earl did was hold me accountable. But you know what I needed? Somebody to hold me accountable. In other words, last week's call, we covered this. Did you do that, Mark? And no, I didn't do this and that. What do you think, Mark? Do you think you should do that? Yeah. And so it's an accountability thing. But again, I mentioned it a minute ago. I'm with a group that is coaching me, and I've been fortunate enough to be complimented by the coach himself. Says I'm one of the most coachable guys he's ever met. And I just assumed everybody was that way because what I did obviously wasn't working that well. Hey, what you're doing is working. I want to copy you. So one thing I will tell you is stay coachable. I was fortunate when back in the mid-90s, I was working with a gentleman that he was 30 years old, making over $1 million a year at age 30, was extremely good in the business that we were in. We were in the financial services business. And he had a saying, and I never forgot this saying. He said, don't let your ego keep you broke. Now think about that. When that's involved in coaching, I talk to some of these internal coaches that work with us, and they say, Mark, you would not believe the guys that come in or women that come in and they're struggling in their current practice, and we're going to give them those ideas that's going to get them to the next level, and they want to tell us how they want to do it. And we can all appreciate that. We all got a little bit of an ego. If you didn't have a little bit of an ego, you wouldn't be here today. But don't let that ego keep you broke. And if you think about that, you're unwilling to change, unwilling to adapt this new system, and so forth. Now, enough about the coaching. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our marketing and what we do to get in front of people and get in that scenario where we have a lot of opportunities. One of the things I will tell you is that if you want more time in front of people, as I said earlier, you've got to hire staff. And when you hire staff, and this is one of my weak areas, guess what you've got to do with that staff? You've got to train that staff. And that takes time. It takes a lot of time. My paperwork person has been with me 3.5 years. And it took me, I bet you she was 2.5 years before she really got the hang of this business. You wouldn't believe how much stuff we take for granted that we know. Basically our marketing plan consists of this. We do workshops. We do required minimum distribution workshops. We do estate planning workshops. We do a social security workshop. And no dinner at any of these workshops. So we don't feed anybody. The only people we feed is when we do client events. And we'll typically have 30 to 50 people at these workshops. So we do educational events. And that's really one of the things that's changed in our practice is we do a lot more education. We do radio. We're on the radio twice during the week. I even do internet leads, and I got to tell you, those are my least favorite leads, but we closed 2 of them last week. Referrals. Matter of fact, I've got an email from one of our internal coaches this morning because I was actually asking him for some of the stats, and he said, Mark, 80% of your business that has come so far this year has come from referrals. And one of the things that I'll also tell you, and we also do a $79 tax return. We do about 600 taxes a year, and we get a lot of leads from that. I had an epiphany back almost 15, 20 years ago. I was an AUM guy with a broker-dealer, a lot of assets under management. But we were losing them money, and the market was down. And I got to thinking back then, I thought, you know what? I'll bet you if you just didn't lose these clients money, sleep insurance, if you just didn't lose these clients money, made them a decent small return, that you'd make more money off of referrals than you're ever doing on this assets under management. Guess what? I was right. Because people don't refer you to people when the accounts are down. When you're selling them sleep insurance, they will. Don't be afraid to ask for referrals. And I'm going to tell you real quick how we do that. The referrals, we talk about who would you know, but we don't go for names and numbers. Nobody wants you calling their friends. We just ask for names. And we say it's a very non-invasive type approach where we say, who do you know? You know, we're really concerned about the market environment right now, and you're safe, but you know people that may not be. And I literally tell them, I feel like Mother Teresa of the financial world. And we don't want to call these people, we just want to get their names. And the only reason I want their names is we're building a name list, and my scheduler will call you. And then she calls, reminds them of those people, and get them to invite those people to that dinner workshop. That's when we feed people. And that's how we basically harvest these referrals. Another quick thing, know your metrics. What the heck are metrics? You know, I was working with one of my initial coaches, and he said, Mark, how many people do you have to see in order to close a sale? I mean, what are your numbers right now? I said, girl, I don't know. He said, well, how many phone calls need to be made in order to get you in front of one person? What are your numbers right now? I said, oh, I honestly don't know. He said, Mark, let me ask you a quick question. If you're going to set goals and you're going to break it back into the numbers, you tell me, do you think it would be important for you to know those numbers? And then he basically set off in the next week. He said, I want you to just gather numbers and know these metrics so that when we get back together again, we know what we're working with here. Know your metrics. All right, I got about 4 minutes left here, and I promised Lisa that I'd run on time. So I want to get into the 6 overriding themes of sales. Things that I've been taught and things that I've seen in selling environments that has helped me do a little bit differently than I was 6 years ago. And I call the first one judo, not karate. Judo, not karate. How many of you have taken karate lessons ever? Karate is a frontal attack. You're attacking. What is judo? Judo, you basically use their weight against them. It's better put by Brian Tracy. He said selling, anybody can finish that? Selling is not telling. We've got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Selling is not telling. So basically, you want to, when you're in a selling environment, you want to, if that person's not giving you the right answers, you want to lead them into giving you the right answers. And then one of my favorite phrases is, yeah, I agree with you. See, when you're agreeing with them, so you got to understand, they're coming in expecting to be sold. They probably talked to 2 other guys before you or women before you. The next, process, not product. That'll blow your mind. Process, not product. We do not lead with products. The word American Equity never comes into the scenario until they become a client of our firm. The word annuity has never, ever come up. They've asked me before, were you talking to me about an annuity? I said, well, let me ask you, are you interested in an annuity? Well, you know, I heard some bad things about annuities and so forth. Well, you know, we can get that. I mean, if you're interested, we can talk about that later. But right now, we're talking about you and the problems that you have. And that's one of the things that I want to emphasize. You've got to, there's 2 things going on in a selling scenario. They've got a problem, and you've got a solution. Now, what we unfortunately do is we go in and we spend a ton of time on the solution, and it gets into a scenario of a better mousetrap. You've got to spend your time on the problem. Because let me tell you something, if you make the P bigger, they will move to the solution. You don't have to pull them to the solution. Make the P bigger. Discovery process. So I talk about judo, not karate, process, not product. Now let me back up on that process, not product. I call something the A-bomb, the ACAT transfer. Now some of you out there are not securities licensed. You can do this with a letter of intent. Before we ever bring a product, they are signing on with us that they want to move these assets over to us because they're making, let me tell you something. If people trusted you, they would buy from you. Because you know what you're telling them is better. Nobody in here is going to tell somebody something that's not good for them. So it's a trust thing. Once they've made that decision, it's just a matter of bringing their assets over. And then we go through my next point here, point number 4, one step at a time. We bring them in as a client, and then we go through a reallocation meeting. And in that reallocation meeting is when the annuity is brought up. Now, next one's not going to be so popular. I may not get invited back for this one. My 5th overriding theme is say no to annuity breath. Say no to annuity breath. The word annuity does not come up. Matter of fact, it doesn't come up until about the 2nd or 3rd meeting with this person. And I'm going to tell you this process that was taught to me. They literally pick the annuity. Matter of fact, I've actually had to back them off from the annuity in many cases and put more money in what we call the semi-risk area. But they pick it. Now, finally, the client's got to make really 3 decisions. Number 1, they got to make the decision that they have a problem. Before they make these 3 decisions, they're not going to go anywhere. They've got a problem. They're motivated to solve that problem. How many times have you heard this person tell you, yeah, I got this problem. Yeah, I need to sell that stock. Yes, and all that stuff, but they're not motivated to do anything about that. And finally, they want to do it through you. They've got to make those 3 decisions. And I literally finished with 1 second left. How about that? Well, thanks again, everybody, for inviting me. Thanks, Kirby, for having me. And I guess we can open up for a few questions.
Yeah, do we have some questions at all for Mark, folks? What was that? Repeat.
The 3 client decisions they've got to make. That they have a problem. They're motivated to solve the problem. So many people come in and they talk to you about their problem. Matter of fact, I've found them, they will throw out lures to see if you will jump for it and go into sales mode. They've got to be motivated to solve that problem. And then finally, they got to make the decision they want to do it through you. So that's got to all be done before the way I do it. Now, I'm not saying this is the only way to do it by any stretch. A lot of guys out here do a lot more business than I do that do it a different way. This is just the way I do it. They got to be motivated to solve that problem. They want to do it through you. Yes, any other questions?
Right here.
Right here.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about the educational events? How do you invite them? How many mailers? Where? All that.
We do, actually that woman sitting right to the right to you would be really the person to ask for that. She's my scheduler, but I'll tell you what I know. We do a lot of mailers, yes. We do, we use a certain company that will send out wedding style mailers for our estate planning workshops. We do mailers for the Social Securities, and of course, they respond back to a company and they set the appointment to come to our educational event. And then at that point, we just basically go and do the workshop. We have preset workshops that we do at every one of these. One of the things that we implemented last year is I went out and I knew this tax model thing worked at $79, bringing the tax guys in, and I thought to myself, you know what I think will work? I think if we brought an estate planning attorney in, that would work. Let's do an estate planning workshop. Talk generally about estate planning, and sure enough, the conversion rate has been very, very good. Hopefully that answers your question.
Where do you do them at?
We do them at libraries. That's a good point. We do them at libraries. We do them at community centers. We do them at universities. We do not do them at restaurants. We don't do them at hotels. Why do we not do them at hotels and restaurants? Because what are people used to seeing at hotels and restaurants? They're used to be getting sold. So we want to do it on an educational level. Kind of one of the overriding themes that I've tried to implement is attract and not chase. You know, so many people are getting used to being chased. When you do that dinner workshop, you're kind of feeding them, so you're starting off on the chasing scenario right there.
Great. Give it up for Mark Falter, huh? Great job. Great job. Okay. We having fun? Picking up some ideas? I see a lot of people taking notes. That's great. First 2 speakers were awesome, huh? Johnny O'Connor and Mark. Let's give it up for them one more time, huh? Thanks for taking taking time out of your schedules, guys, to be here with us. We got more coming. Let's take a break. Let's get back at 10:30. You know what we got? You must be present to win. Cash machine. Who wants to get in there? Be back at 10:30.
Great job. You did a great job. God, I bet you. Nobody's going to say that. But it didn't make it. I remember San Antonio, one of my good friends got elected to the neighbor. He stood up on a deal and he said, I need to travel to the department. You're right. Because we thought my wife was get
Let me
not bringing my wife.
Cigars,
I don't cigar. I stay away from that altogether. Mark Ken will be coming back.